So, how many of you know the Divine Comedy? Have ever heard of Dante? Hands up? Okay, quite a lot. So, in Italy, the school system is about Dante, especially in the early years of high school. So at first, I didn't really like literature, actually for nothing. I was all about IT. And still, I really loved Dante, and I decided to blend Dante and platform engineering today. So, starting off with the agenda, I'm going to introduce myself. Then we're going to have a little trip around the platform engineering's Inferno with all of the circles, and you're going to meet a lot of weird people and challenges to solve. And then we're going to hopefully reach heaven, so the platform engineering heaven. About me. So I'm a cloud-native consultant and contributor. I contribute to Kubernetes. I'm part of the 1.31 release team. And I organize meetups about Kubernetes in the Netherlands and KCD, Kubernetes Community Days. I'm a former startup CTO. I've been working as a lead SRE and DevOps engineer. We were building a platform, so I would say also I started with platforms. And then before, I was a software engineer. Fun facts about me, I used to live in the Italian city where Dante died. And I used to actually go to school very nearby. So I could visit the tomb very often. And lots of metal bands also took inspiration from Dante's Inferno, like Septic Fresh, and even iStart. Aside from that, I'm also a metal singer. And yeah, about literature, I love Dante. You already know that. Now, some disclaimers for this talk. So, some references are not accurate, so it's not a one-on-one reference from Dante's Inferno to platform engineering. And when I say customers or users, I mean developers. Because, yeah, developers. Yeah, Steve Ballmer is my hero. So, and yeah, so this is actually a BLT-LDR, so if you don't have time to attend the talk, you already have a platform, you just don't treat it like one yet. Let's begin. So, this is you. You're a DevOps. And I know DevOps is not a role, it's a culture, yes. But bear with me. You have compliance, you have security, you have development experience on top of all of your tasks. And there's platform engineering coming to aid you. And this, by the way, is free copyright, it's just a painting. Again, what is this platform? Is it physically a platform? Maybe not. It's not backstage. So when they say that platform engineering equals backstage, there is a lot more to that. So yes, it can be part of it, but it's not backstage. So what is an internal development platform is a blend of many different techs and tools integrated, lowering the cognitive load on your developers, enabling self-service, but at the same time, you don't want to give up control, security, and compliance. This is my definition, by the way, like the last part. It's an internal product built and maintained for the developers with the developers. So without developers, there's no platform. If they don't buy it, it's not going to work. So this is what a platform will look like. You're going to have some APIs on both sides, on the cloud provider side and on your internal platform, and they have to communicate. Your developers can choose, and will always have the option to choose, to use your platform in any fashion, like UI, the CLI, or the APIs, but they also need to have a manual kind of break glass. So imagine it like automation for your house. You never want to have your lock completely automated. You always want to have a backup in case something doesn't work. And that's, I think, is also true for platforms. In an internal development platform, you're going to have golden paths, defaults, and policies. I think this is the fundamental part. Then you're going to have a lot of services, CI/CD, EAC, GitOps to deploy on your Kubernetes, and repositories, so your code, your core. We're going to venture in the platform engineering Inferno. So each circle, sorry for the Italian, but this is like an original representation. This is actually how the Inferno was designed by Dante. So with all the circles, every circle is a sin, and so it will be for us. And if you recognize yourself in one of the sins, be really careful, because I'm going to also have a solution to each of the sins, at least my view on the solution. So we start with the limbo. Here we can find all of the legacy developers that stopped developing before platform engineering was a thing. I'm talking with probably like COBOL developers and stuff. And yeah, I mean, I cannot blame them. And then we're also gonna talk about the dilemma of build versus buy, but I will also add versus adopt and integrate. And actually, the solution to this one could be a bit of all of them, depending on your need. So developers discussing this dilemma are doomed to stay here until 5 or 8 is red on the dice. This is a Jumanji quote. And as you can see, like, developers are in circle, discussing what they think is best, and someone is like sitting, it's more like chill. Someone is having weapons, so they're more like opinionated about it. But at the end of the day, the purpose of a platform is enabling your team. So the build versus make, in my opinion, is more like having a tailored suit made for you, or having a pre-made one from a brand. But the brand can even be like Armani, so it's going to be a great suit. And it has to fit your budget. So don't go for a tailored suit if you don't have the budget for it. Buy what you can afford. And ask your developer what they need. This is very important. And once you ask the developers what they need, they're going to give you the real feedback, and you can act accordingly, implementing your platform. Now we go to lust. So lust is that sensation that you have when you want to integrate all of your different tools inside your platform. You want Argo, you want Flux, but you also want Jenkins. And now you have a mess of different tools, and everyone can choose. But then nobody is really an expert of any of these tools. And it's difficult to debug all of them and to integrate, and keeping the integration on for all of them, and keeping that integration updated. So in this case, my solution is a tiniest viable platform. So you want to have the smallest set of APIs, documentation, and tools needed to accelerate team developing modern software, services, and systems. This is, by the way, from Team Topologies. If you want to look up the repository, I leave it there. And in short, this is whatever your team needs to go faster. A platform is not a place for your engineers to have ego. They just need to be able to implement the core of your product. And then we go to gluttony. There is a great appetite for all of the different tools and services without a rationale, without really implementing them. This is a very cool gift that I always like to use in this case. You are leaving your customers with an overwhelming array of options, and they're like, yeah, but what should I choose? What should I implement? Is that something that I need to choose myself, but I don't have the expertise for that? And rightfully, developers write code. Platform engineers and DevOps engineers, they want to know about the infrastructure. They have to know about how to optimize that and how to put in place processes in order for your developers to be productive. So at the end of the day, to avoid sprawling of tools, you want to have guardrails, and you want to have a guardian. In this case, we have Cerberus, which is the guardian of our gates, and they're not going to pass. So if your developers want to go out from that trail, you're going to say no. You have to learn how to say no in a nice way, of course, but still, you have to have a centralized decision-making going on, having some consensus, but the nuance, the edge case, doesn't have to go in the platform right away. So the initial version of the platform has to stay simple. And yeah, this helps to create a platform where your DevX is satisfying for everyone. And of course, you have a bit of a trade-off, and you have to evaluate legacy tools as well. if you want to rebuild them from scratch, adopt something else, or keeping them in the loop for long enough so your developers can eventually switch to the new tools. Then we have greed, the fourth circle. In this case, you have a desire for control, and you have a desire to build your platform, right? So at this point, your engineers are excited, they are building all these tools, they are building all these processes, but maybe they don't really need all of those. Maybe you don't need to implement the authentication processes all over. You can just adopt, I don't know, Okta, by the way, is one of the sponsors. I'm not tied to them, they don't pay me. You can implement like your Google authentication, your GitHub authentication, and you don't really need to rebuild that all the time. You can just adopt that part and plug it into your platform. So we also find in this circle people that think that the platform will solve their cultural and topology problems. So if you don't have control on your teams, if you don't measure your metrics, a platform is not going to help. So you have first to measure your metrics, and then you can go to a platform. Otherwise, you won't have any data to support it. So to solve this challenge, you have to create golden paths. And a golden path, in my definition, is the fastest way to go to production for your developers. I know that there are many definitions of a golden path, but I think this is the most actionable definition. You can measure how fast your developers are putting change in production. This includes, of course, templates for components, repositories, infrastructure pipelines, anything that can bring your code from the laptop of your developers to the production system. And the key to this process is eliminating any unnecessary choice for your developer. So you want to diminish the complexity budget. This one I also stole from Team Topologies. Thanks, Matteo Skelton and Manuel Pai. I really like the definition of complexity budget because it makes you understand that you cannot afford complexity. Complexity is a cost that you have to evaluate, and you have to evaluate all the risks tied to it. Then we move to RAT. So this is a pipeline migration. I know this is not a POV, but you can see that it's very messy and people are scared about it and they maybe have opinions about it, but the internal friction, one, is inevitable. You have to fight it. But if you don't fight it, if you don't find a solution for it, it's going to destroy your platform. Or you're not going to even build a platform if you have enough friction inside. So building a system while trying to get adoption, it's very difficult. You also have to think about migrating from your old system to a new system, how to roll it out nicely. You can have different techniques. There's no one-fits-all solution. So maybe in your company, it works with a pilot team. Maybe in other companies, it works like, I don't know, abstracting all the CI/CD for all the team at the same time. Or maybe, I don't know, like you want to go by domain, let's say authentication, or you want to automate finance first. Then you have the way to decide this kind of thing because you have your data, because you measure that, right? And on top of that, you have to fight all of these things even after you build a platform. So you have to maintain it. It's not something that you get to build once and then it runs forever. You don't have to change it. No, it's a product. It has a life cycle. It will have releases. It will have new implementations, new integrations. At some point, if the platform lives long enough, you're going to even have deprecations. So maybe an API doesn't serve you anymore. Maybe you don't use, I don't know, ECS anymore, and you only use Kubernetes. Or you want to use back virtual machines. You don't want to use only Kubernetes, so you have to implement another API. And you have to fight this whole thing that Syntasso in their blog and also in their papers, they call platform decay. So you don't have to let your platform die. Here we come to RAT. So to minimize the friction, you have to follow these steps. Of course, it's not an exhaustive list. This is my opinion on it. You have to start small and with value-driven steps. So what does it mean? Ask your developers, what is the task that you spend most time on a daily basis or on a weekly basis, depending on how fast is your development cycle. And who is your pilot team? Maybe you have some developers that are eager to learn about platforms, or you have DevOps engineers that are already trying to put something together for your teams. Maybe sometimes the pilot team is already like a naturally kind of thing. It's chosen by itself. Or you can appoint them and just say, hey, now you're my pilot team. But in my experience, that works rarely. You have to avoid all-in-one magic and big bang releases. You want to roll out features one by one, nice and slow. You want to really keep the feedback loop. So you're going to ask your developers at each release, hey, I want to survey your satisfaction. Are you OK with this new change? Did it help you? Was it neutral? Was it something that you don't use? How often are you using it? And then you have to keep in mind day-two operations. A platform is not only pushing your software to production and then you leave it right there. It's something that keeps your code in a state where you want it to be. And that's why you also should define simple and future-proof API interfaces. With an API interface, you can really then plug in any kind of external integration. You can evolve your platform in a way that feels natural, exactly like a backend of a product, because it is what it is. We go to Heresy now, the sixth circle, where you have the platform engineering seen as an heresy by your management team, especially the CFO and any financial controlling kind of team. Because yes, it costs a lot of money. Maybe not directly, maybe you're not paying a third-party software, you're not buying a platform, you're building it, but then you're paying it in amount of hours spent in building the platform. And you have to justify this spending, even if you don't like it. It's something that us developers, we don't really like to justify our hours put into building something amazing, I know. But at the end of the day, our employers have to pay for this platform. So we might as well start measuring the goals of the platform with business objectives. So you want to really say, hey, this platform is helping us delivering software faster, is helping us having less production problems, is helping us having nice rollouts in production. You don't really want to keep your management blindsided. You want to involve your management in the platform. You want them to have dashboards that they can consult and see in real time what is happening. They want data, they want something. So you might as well building it embedded in the platform. And yeah, as we experience communication issues, we want to really, really go along the lines of OKRs, so business objectives, but you can also have some KPIs. It's not an ugly or an evil word. It's just something that you really have to be careful about. Because once you set a metric, you typically adapt to the metric, and you typically adapt to beat that metric. So you really want to have metrics that make sense, and I think a small set of metrics, not really like 100 metrics. You really need 4, like the DORA metrics. Those are kind of good to understand if your platform is delivering what it's supposed to be and what it promised. And yeah, survey your developer satisfaction periodically. I didn't put any time period, so it's not 1 week, it's not 2 weeks, it's whatever works for your team. Ask them, would you mind filling a survey for me once per month? Probably not. Would you mind doing it every 2 days? Probably yes. We go to violence. Now, developers against your platform are equally dangerous. So not only you have to fight your management, you also have to fight your developers, the resistance that they put against the platform. You can have developers saying, yeah, but we always done it that way. OK, yeah, I understand. And you can also have DevOps people saying, yeah, but won't the platform steal my job? No, it won't. You have more work to do. Yeah, and more exciting work to do. You're building a product now. You're not maintaining or, like, I don't know, solving Jira tickets all day. Like, hey, can you create this repository for me? Can you give me a permission? No, It's already built in. So self-service, your developer can just create the repo, add the permission, push in production. OK, maybe test and production with a quality gate or something. So we all know what this is, right? You know that this is like our good development cycle. You code, you build it, you deploy it, you operate. And in DevOps, you also own it, you test it, and blah, blah, blah. But this is not the reality, at least not in my experience. And this is a bit what it looks like. You have way more processes. You have site reliability teams. You have DevSecOps teams. You have a lot of stuff about the cloud. You have cloud management, different infrastructure of code. You have too many things to take care of. And without a platform, you're really, really wasting a lot of time doing the same thing over and over. Do you want to instrument your code? Do you want to have your OpenTelemetry collector deployed? Maybe some people, they just don't want the collector like that. They want a sidecar. Maybe some other people like another way. It's never going to end. So you have to take decisions that fit in this model. So even this model is not exhaustive. Maybe you have AI services. Maybe I put them somewhere. No, there's no AI in this one. But yeah, you might want an AI platform as well. And then we come to Treachery. So Treachery, treason, however you want to call it, at the end of the day, your developers have lost their way. You betrayed them. You didn't make any documentation for your platform. So now they're lost forever, and they're doomed to fail. So there is no way out of this maze. And unless you help them and you help yourself finding the platform market fit, this is like a new thing, just substituting product, your entire platform team is doomed to be laid off. I'm sorry, you failed. So this is a small diagram that I made. It's opinionated, yes, but it gives you an idea about how to navigate your platform engineering problem inside a company. So first of all, are you tracking developer experience metrics? If you're not doing that, start tracking them and go back. If you're tracking them, is your developer team overloaded and delivery is suboptimal? No. Are you really tracking developer metrics? If no, start defining them and go back again. If it is, then is it you're understaffed or is cognitive load too high? You have sprawling of tools and everything. If it's cognitive load, you probably need platform engineering. If you're understaffed, hire people. Like, there's no escape. You cannot make 10 developers with all the nice platforms you want, make the work of 100 developers. So if you can't hire, probably your business model is not working, so you should charge your customers more. That's it. And tell this to your managers, to your salespeople, to your CFO. And if you need platform engineering instead, the question you have to ask is how many teams you have. So you have less than 3 teams, I would consider buying, because it's small enough. Maybe your problem is already solved by platforms that are out there. I'm not naming any. More than 3, I would consider building. You can afford having like a small platform team that can really create a platform tailored to your business domain, tailored to your product, tailored to the tools that you already using in your company. This is a nice chart that I found thanks to Abhinoda. He's the CEO of GetDX.com. This is when different companies of different domains and sizes, they've built platforms and platform teams. So some companies, as you can see, they built them when they had 30 engineers. And maybe that's too early, but it worked for them. Again, there's no one-fits-all solution. You have to find your own. Or like Miro, which, by the way, has a HQ in Amsterdam. They built a platform team around 100 and 150 engineers. And then going down, you see, for example, DoorDash, they started building it after 500 engineers, which is, in my opinion, a bit too late. But let's see. So this is a small TLDR of our talk. It's all about company culture. you really cannot enforce stuff top-down. And I think it's the base principle of any DevOps or any process really in a company. Buy if your platform need is already well solved. Try different platforms. Like the fact about buying, you don't have to buy the first platform you see. You can try a couple of them. Most platform engineering tools, they have like some trial period, like try me for 1 month, 2 months, whatever. And you can do that even maybe for different teams. Like one team buys one platform, one team buys the other. They have a call, they have a presentation, and you can evaluate pros and cons. After that, you must remember that agnostic tools wins in the long run. So you don't really want to go with a high vendor lock-in kind of thing, and you really want a platform that can stay agnostic. So most platforms nowadays are based on Kubernetes, which is fine, but then maybe they have strong opinions on authentication. Maybe you can't plug in different softwares with that. Maybe they only work on a certain set of languages. So you really want to be careful about that. And then you can build if you can afford the time, yes, the effort, but most importantly, the long-term commitment. Building a platform is a long-term commitment. It's something that you have to keep over and over. And it's an opportunity cost. So you have to realize that engineers employed to your platform are not building your product. So they're not immediately bringing business value, but they're acting as a multiplier to the rest of your team. Always, always, always measure your platform effectiveness against metrics. They have to be measurable. They have to be numbers. You have to have data about it. And they have to be aligned with business objectives. So even if you don't like them, you have to involve your managers, and they have to like it. So again, starting small, solve a problem for your developers, and solve a problem that shows the business value. So when you're building a platform, at first, you have to try and think, hey, what is the most important part of my product? What is the part of the product that fails the most? Let's say one team has a deployment failure rate of 15%. Work with them. Show management that you can bring it down to 5, 2% with your platform. And then they're going to buy it. They're going to say, hey, okay, you can build your platform. It works. And then, yeah, platforms have to find their own market fit in a market, which is your company, that is way different from the SaaS market or any market that your company is in, that requires a different go-to-market strategy. So it's not that you have to buy ads and you have to have some leads about that, but maybe you want to have platform advocates inside your company. Maybe your pilot team, after the project, can create videos or content or delivering internal workshops to the rest of the company. Maybe this goes more for like big companies, let's say a big bank, ING, ABN AMRO, whatever. Those are structured enough to have a pilot team that can go around the different offices and different areas to deliver the message. And involving your developers to shape the platform, it's really important. So you really want to involve them. You really want them to define, but also contribute. So you want even them to like have ideas, have opinions, even build part of it if they need some APIs. And your development teams, in the end, are the key to your platform market fit. Now, I have some cool resources that if you want, we're going to read. We have a platform engineering manifesto that I wrote. It's highly, let's say, inspired by the Agile manifesto. And a work-in-progress platform engineering roadmap that I'm building. It's basically like not tool-based. It's mostly like what you need to know and understand, let's say, in networking, in storage, to create a platform. There is a cool article that also inspired part of this talk from Martin Fowler about platforms. It's called Platform Prerequisites. I highly recommend reading that. This slide deck, by the way, is public. at speakersdeck.com and Bianchi Dev. You can find all of my talks, by the way. And then now I'm going to go with the credits. A big, big thanks to Jason, Laura, and William for reviewing the slides. The organizing team, part of it is here, part of it is behind the scenes, for having me on stage. You for attending this talk, most importantly. And yeah, Slides Carnival for the presentation, because I'm really, really not a designer, so this is pretty cool, and it's not me. Thanks a lot.